So we'll start this morning with the recitation of refuge and bodhicitta.
Until the summit of enlightenment is reached high and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness. Until the summit of enlightenment is reached high and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness. Until the summit of enlightenment is reached high and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness.
So, first of all, can you hear in the back? So, first of all, beginning our day of meditation, it's of great importance and also a great tradition to begin by giving rise to bodhicitta, the aspiration that we might attain full enlightenment with the explicit goal of accomplishing the benefit of all sentient beings, not just our own or just our family and friends, but all sentient beings without exception. There's a very nice story in Ponlop Rinpoche's book, Mind Beyond Death, which I know many of you have read, so you may recall the story. Of course, I'll miss a couple of pieces and exaggerate some more. The story is about Indian independence. It's a short story of Gandhi, who was known as Gandhiji, with respect, was on more than one occasion arrested and thrown in jail. And on one of those occasions, he was thrown in with a number of other prisoners, and one of the prisoners asked him what his name was. So Gandhi, being an honest guy, said, "My name is Gandhiji." And everyone laughed. And the prisoner who had asked him what his name was said, "Yeah, of course. Everybody wants to be Gandhi in here." So I thought that was a good theme for today's meditation. If you read the elaboration, which is not very long, in Mind Beyond Death, Ponlop Rinpoche points out some very nice things. Everybody wants to be someone else, except for those who are even more deluded in thinking they're somebody already. So we are tricked from all sides. We may believe that we actually are somebody else, in which case we sink deeper into the delusion of who we think we are. On the other hand, we may hold high aspirations when we recite the bodhicitta aspiration prayer that we might actually attain enlightenment. We might actually be skillful enough to benefit other beings. But that can elude us also, especially in the short term. Given our lack of success on that score, we may become cynical and sink further into other illusory places. And so today being our all-day sit, our monthly all-day sit, and the practice in this month, in April is Chenrezi. So we will have a session of Chenrezi. After first session, we'll practice calm abiding or shamata. But maybe good just a very quick elaboration on this theme of wanting to be someone else. Or thinking we already are. Or even for that matter, imagining that it's a worthy goal. In the Mahayana tradition, the goal is always some form of transformation. And sometimes, even when we're clear about that transformation and clear about the practices, we imagine that we already know what the transformation is. Probably we're wrong. And so that path becomes more difficult than it needed to be. So we may get discouraged and give up. The methods in the Mahayana tradition, kind of strictly in the Mahayana tradition, are to engage in things like making the aspiration that we will attain realization and we will be able to effectively benefit others. And we engage in many different practices in that direction. But none is more important or more effective than the aspiration to attain awakening on behalf of all others. And it's effective for reasons which are not reasonable. The reason that it's effective is because we don't know what awakening is. You see, if we already think we know what awakening is, but we're not awakened, we have a problem. We're going to have to give up what we think we already know in order to experience that which we do not know. So it's actually better to start from the place of, I don't know anything. If we could do that on every breath, or at least once an hour, how about once a day, once a week? That would be really helpful. So in the practice of shamata, first of all, and then afterwards Chenrezi, up until the lunch break, In the practice of shamata, the first and most important aspect of the practice is to encounter all of our stale opinions, all of our ideas about how things are or should be, to encounter all of our mental poisons, our jealousies, our anger, greed, pride, and so on. Encountering this state of our mind as it is the first big thing in the practice of shamata. We cannot use shamatha in order to convert all of those big ideas, the anger and the pride and the rest. We cannot use shamatha to transform that into something good. The goodness is in just recognizing it as it is. So as we start the practice of shamatha, let's settle ourselves first, our bodies. Even though you're sitting in what many of us would say is an unnatural position, and sometimes a painful or at least uncomfortable position, still you should be relaxed, comfortable in the mind, if not in the body. Sometimes moving the body a little bit before settling helps. No matter how we sit, we have what is called a center of gravity. There is a place in which, not leaning too far in any direction, you can let go of all effort and just be still. You can find that place every time you sit down, experimentally, by moving the body back and forth, and forward and backward, until you find that spot which is completely balanced and comfortable. Your meditation will not be good if you are struggling with the body. So when you find that place which is comfortable and balanced, where you can sit effortlessly, just stop there for a moment. And notice something. In particular, notice that you're breathing. So we didn't say, begin to breathe, or breathe like this. We just said, notice that you're breathing. It's easier to place your mind on something that is moving than to just be still. And so this practice of noticing that we're breathing and when we're distracted, bringing our awareness back to that noticing that we're breathing has just in these few points all of the necessary ingredients for excellent meditation and ultimately transformation. When we add bodhicitta into it, it addresses the question which is important to ask. Why am I doing this? So periodically, while you're meditating, practicing this shamata, you will discover that you're distracted, because this is our deep habit. You may even discover that you are more magnetized by the distraction than by the meditation, because the distraction, in particular, each one of ourselves has distractions that are like the icon of who we think we are. So of course, we're more attracted to that. When we see that we've been distracted, it's important to bring ourselves back to the meditation without a moment's hesitation, nothing in between. But the meditation is not merely about mind on the breath. It is also about bodhicitta. So when you bring your awareness back to your breath, you can also just take a few seconds, literally 3 or 4 seconds, remind yourself, I am here in order to benefit all sentient beings. So I am one of those sentient beings. So I'm also here for my benefit. And then you just settle your mind again, the awareness following the breath, watching it almost as if it belonged to someone else. So in that way, placing the mind on the movement of the breath and coming back during distractions, reminding ourselves of why we're doing it. This very simple practice contains all the elements that are necessary. So continue like this for the duration.
By this virtue may I quickly realize Mahamudra and establish all beings without exception in this state.
So we're going to take our first break now. On the all-day sit on Sunday, up until the lunch break, we observe silence on the breaks. So you can make yourself a cup of tea in the kitchen. There's hot water urns and things to do that with. And there are 3 bathrooms here, one upstairs and one downstairs, and one in the back of the kitchen. So we'll ring the bell in about 10 minutes and come back and start the practice of Chenrezig.